This is just such a great piece to play on the viol because it involves so many different techniques. Apart from doing chords and shifting, it's got pizzicato and col legno, which is, I think, the first reference to col legno, which is where you hit the bow, or hit the string even, hit the string with the back of the bow. And this is a modern string technique, but I think this was its origin in Hume. So I'm just going to play the first few bars. So that's the first two lines, and I've got the notation here. I don't have the tablature of this. Well, I'm not playing it from tablature, I'm playing it from notation. I'm still learning tablature. So let's have a look at some of the issues in this. So starting this in half position, and not right at the tip of the bow, but a little way down, so I can come back for my Ds, and I'm leaving that first note ringing. So it's very important that when you do that string cross, you can hear the string ring rather than and then get down. So it's a very quick movement. So I'm on my bottom D string before I need it. And if you're new to this technique of string crossing, try it on an adjacent string first. So you're landing on the adjacent string and leaving the first one ringing. Anyway. So here we go. So by the time I've got to the end of the bar, I've still got my second finger down. And I've got my third finger down, ready for these thirds. And I was doing two back bows here on that first and second quaver at the second bar. And then a shift. Now, this G minor arpeggio, it doesn't matter how you do it really, whether you do as an extension or you've still got to get here. Whoops. That always happens on video. So that's that, or you've still got to get there. So let's just talk about getting there, shall we? So when you shift, what you're thinking is you move on a strong finger, this one, first finger, and land on a weak finger. And that's a really good principle of shifting generally. So what do you think? Where do you aim for when you're shifting? Well, I'm aiming for the third fret, sorry, the 7th fret with my third finger. Of course, if you're doing it with a 3 here, it's a different muscle memory from here. And then if you're doing it like this, I almost quite like the half position because my hand is in the same shape. If I'm doing this, it's at a completely different shape. But I think you have to go with what you feel best. It doesn't matter, I don't think. So when you do shift, as I said, it's a muscle memory. So what you have to do is do it loads to teach your body how to do it. It's not a visual reference in any way. So a good way to learn muscle memory, as you're probably getting the hang of my videos now, is to close your eyes. How well do you know this muscle memory? So my first finger is on the G, and I suppose I'm thinking about orientating that there, but I'm aiming for that and playing that. And 4 fingers down. Anyway, let's go from the third bar, from this B flat now. So if I just play this to you. And I was going straight back to half position there. Because I really want to have those 3 D strings, or those those 3 Ds, as the outer ones as opens. And that leaves me nicely for the next bit, which is second finger here, and then a 4 on the G. And then what that leaves us is set up for the chord. So let's play that together then. So this is bar 3. So not too quick, here we go, and 3, 4. Okay, so let's have a look at how we do pizzicato, because you're a bit going, well, I don't know what to do with my bow. What am I going to do? So, when I've done pizzicato before, I've usually done it like this, but there's not time here. So we've come from here, and then I've just got time to put my thumb here to play the G. So what I'm actually doing is holding the bow between my first and second finger and pizzing with my third finger. And then I'm ready. So I'm not actually changing my bow hold at all really. If I'm thinking about doing it like that with the bow hold, and then I'm just coming forward and supporting the bow in between my first and second finger, and then I'm ready again. So I think when you play the end of the arco bit at the beginning of bar 4, when you go to the pizzicato, you can almost have a bit of rubato there to give you a bit of time, but also to make it musical, of course. So now we're now set up for that beautiful chord. And let's just think about how do we play. So I've got a 2 on the D, 4 on the G, 1 on the B flat. How do you play this chord? So you need enough on the bottom note for all the other notes to sort of sit on top of, because you've got that lovely resonance, and everything else is going to be stacked on top of that, isn't it? And you don't want to get too far down the bow, because then you haven't got anything to hold the third, and that's a good point actually. There is a third at the top that needs sustaining. And so thirds and sixths you tend to sustain, fourths not quite so much, or at all. So what I'm doing here is just putting a tiny bit of tension with my second finger on the hair. Only a tiny bit, you can see me moving there. And that's just opening the string. And this next chord, the D, F sharp, A, is really hard to get in tune, so you probably find you need to have a flatter F sharp. So when you do your chordal fingering this with 2 and 3, you've got to move almost your second finger forward and your third finger back. So let's just do that bit then. So should we go from the pizzicato? So if I count you in 1, 2, and if you get ready for your pizz, so that's thumb on the side of the fingerboard, holding the bow between the first and second finger and pizzing with the third finger. All set? Here we go. 1, 2. So this next bit I did in chordal fingering because I wanted that G to sustain. If I take it off, sounds completely different. So I'm doing a 3 on the G and a 4 on the C. Now up to here on the B flat, which I did look. So some of the things that we're having to do here is to get back to play the chord, particularly if you've got a gut G like I have, and then come forward when you play high. So where your bow is varies considerably. If you're playing a chord, it's back here. But if you're on that on the top string, playing a top note, the B flat here. It's not so good there, is it? Yeah. So let's go from that B flat. And what I was doing here was doing a contracted fingering on the A. So I'm putting my fourth finger on the A, letting go with everything, including the thumb, coming back to a 1, and then a 2. And this section at the end of 8, it doesn't really matter whether you're in half position or first position. There are 2 ways, let me show you. So I'll do it in half position first when I get to the G minor arpeggio. So that's keeps everything going. You have to go from there to there. This next bit is much easier in first, but that's the next bit. So if I do this last bit I just did in from 8 and do it in first position now. By not missing the extension. So you've got to reach back for the extension, but you don't have such a big string cross. So that's the advantage of that one. So I think in a way you can decide what you want to do. The half position's quite nice because it makes the strings ring. But that's choice. Okay, so bar 9. And I was putting, going to first position here on the D. So 2 there, and then a 3 to hold that down. So you can still hear that. So should we go from 6? Let's go from the chord. So that's a G minor chord with a fourth finger on G. Here we go. And 3, 4. Okay, this next section, the pizzicato section, back to half position. And again, I think you can have rubato there. You can sort of... Rubato is just taking your own time, as long as you don't take too much. Okay, so this next bit is the same as the bit we just had. And a third here. And I started this with a back bow here. And the top B flat with the back. So let's have a look at some of that. 12, 11, 12, 13, 14. Let's go from 14. And because I've done the semiquavers in half position, I'm already set up for the G minor chord. And then a D major chord. With a 2 and a 3 with that flat and F sharp. And then up to here with the B flat. Came back to a 1 here. 4. Now, this is another place where I don't think it matters whether you have first position or half position. I think it's nice to have that sustained, this top G sustained where you play the bottom one, But whether you then shift to a half, or whether you stay in first, if you stay in half, then you can keep that third down, which is quite nice. Oops. So I think try it both ways and see what sound you like. So let's go from 17 now. So if I'm F sharp A like that, the only thing I can put down to play the G is a 4. And I did 2 back bows here. This is the first 2 quavers of 18. I love that bit. It's amazing. Anyway, back to the chords. And then when you play this open G, you move your left hand. So you're ready. And that's a really good tip for shifting actually. If you've got an open string beforehand, move. If you can. It's not always possible to move though, having said that, because sometimes you need to be holding your fingers down to keep the string, to keep the sound resonating. But in this context, it's a good one. And the spreading of the chords here, and throughout this piece, you can spread them differently depending on how you want to play them. So you could have a sort of languorous, really, with slow spreads or quick spreads, depending on the character. And that's a really good way of changing the character of something in chords. Okay, so we've shifted because we've got an open G string here. But when we shifted, it's like this has gone down, and so this has to go down as well. We're there. So I can't play my gut string too far down because it doesn't sound great. But I've got to move here. So this is happening, isn't it? Let's just have a look at that. So go back to 20 and I'll show you what I mean. So, gone down here. And the end of 22, I'm still in half position. So the D and F sharp with a 2 and a 3. And now I'm set up for these chords. So let's just have a look at this. We've got to try and sort of hit it in the middle so we get all of the strings ringing. And we have to have that G ringing. So I can't really hear the D that much. Whoops. Now this is a bit where you have to move your third finger onto the B natural. And in Jordi Saval's recording of this, he finishes it and goes... I sort of quite like it, really. He takes the natural bounce of the bow. Anyway, let's have a look at those chords. So we've got the G major chord, or the G chord at the bottom of at 23. Actually, let's not go from there. Let's go from somewhere a bit easier. What about if we go from 22? Okay, here we go. So not too fast. And 3, 4. Actually, I should have been on a back bow. Oops, here we go. 3, 4. Now I'm just putting my first across. 1, 2, now 2, 4, sorry, 2 and 3, flat. Now 4, 1, open. And then take your B flat off. Now take your third finger off, if you can remember which one it is, because it's really hard to know what finger's which. Now put your fourth finger back on and move your third finger across to be natural without letting go of 2. So I think the way this is written, we've got more of a bass note chord and the penultimate bar, the third beat, and then he wants a high one and then a all together. And I'm slightly going out of tune here. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. It's a fantastic piece and there's so much ebb and flow and dramaticism in it. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it and see you at the next lesson.